Of all places that I've seen you, the Miami Heat visiting locker room is not one that I would imagine our first meeting. But tell me about the Brooklyn Nets and the importance of having a franchise here in Brooklyn again.
Well, I think it's phenomenal to have a franchise here in Brooklyn. Obviously, if you have a franchise in one of the other boroughs outside of Manhattan, I think that's a beautiful thing because I think it raises the level of tension, of excitement, of competitiveness in this city. I mean, for years and years, obviously, the New York Knicks were the only game in town. And obviously, when you look at the New York Knicks, because they've been here for so long in this city, you're going to have people that's going to gravitate to them. But in the end, as long as the Nets continue to be competitive and they send a message to the New York Knicks that we're coming, that resonates significantly because, again, if they're a competitive team, it's an alternative. And if they're winning, then ultimately you'll have people rooting for the Nets even more so or just as much as the New York Knicks, particularly in the borough of Brooklyn. I'm a native of New York, from Queens, New York, and I know something about the 5 boroughs. And you get very parochial. You know, you get very into your spot, your territory. And so it's one thing if it was the New York Nets, but the fact that it's Brooklyn, it's like it's our own. So the people of Brooklyn are just going to be galvanized and they're going to gravitate more to the franchise. And I think that that's going to give you a significant home court advantage in the years and years to come. It certainly doesn't start off that way, but ultimately it won't take too long before it ends up being that way because Brooklyn has always been one of those boroughs that harbor its level of pride. It's like it's about us. We're different than y'all. We're not a part of y'all. We got our own thing. They love doing that, and obviously when you have your own franchise, it enables you to be that way.
Well, you're familiar with all the boroughs. What is your description of Brooklyn?
Hardcore, blue collar, lot of heart, not scared of anybody. Very verbose, you know, got a lot of bravado, a lot of swag to it. You can't be a scrub and play for this franchise. You can't be a team devoid of heart and last here long. You can't be an individual devoid of heart and last here long. When you look at players on the Brooklyn Nets, you've got a great general manager in Billy King, somebody that knows a thing or two about running a franchise. And he's a guy that understands you've got to be blue collar in mentality. He was a guy that played at Duke. He was Mike Krzyzewski's defensive ace back in the late 80s and what have you. Just ask Mark Macon at Temple. He'll tell you something about that. And anytime he builds players and puts players together to formulate a team, he thinks about heart just as much as he thinks about skill or anything else. Because if you don't have that little extra something inside of your chest, you're not going to make it. And in a place like Brooklyn, that's going to be exposed far quicker than in other places. Because if you don't have that heart inside your chest, people are going to notice. And they're going to call you out on it in Brooklyn because in Brooklyn you get called out on everything. That's just the way that it is. So you have to know that coming into this franchise, and I think folks get that.
Well, not only do they call out players that aren't good and players that aren't playing well, they also take, 2 players that have been potentially snubbed at the All-Star games, like Brook Lopez, who now officially is part of the roster. So what do you think about that?
Well, I'm happy for him. I'm proud of him. He's a great guy. His heart's in the right place. He always puts forth the effort, the work ethic. He's a guy that continues to develop. I think the most exciting thing about him is that he is a legitimate center in the NBA. He's a big boy, and he's just developing. He's very, very green, very raw, yet still effective somehow, some way. So the sky's the limit for him because he's only going to get better. He's got the right attitude. He's an incredibly nice guy. That might be a mark against him to some degree because he's just so nice, and you got to get a little bit of nasty in you to play his position. But that's something that could be developed to some degree, and I think that it will when it comes to him, and I think he'll be absolutely fine. But again, you talk about the elite big men in the game. You're going to think about a healthy Andrew Bynum. You're going to think about a healthy Dwight Howard. But legitimately, next on that list could very well be Brook Lopez. And you could do a lot worse than him, and it's good that he's a part of this franchise.
And of course, before I let you go, last question. New York is known for a great slice of pizza. How do you eat your New York slice of pizza?
Well, it depends. I mean, I like my stuff with ground beef and extra cheese. You want to go to a regular deli. You don't need to go to Pizza Hut and Domino's and all of this stuff. You can find those anywhere. But the regular corner deli that, that makes pizza, get your slice or two or what have you. It's nothing like it. People in other cities, other states throughout this country, they dream of imitating what you can find in New York, particularly in Brooklyn, because Brooklyn isn't cheap with the crust. Some places are cheap with the crust. It almost looks like it's just cheese on top of nothing. You know, you can barely even see the dough. But in Brooklyn, the dough is thick, so you can see that. Now, that's not to say that too much dough may not be good for you, but boy, does it really taste good. And if you want to cheat with some pizza from Brooklyn. There's no doubt about that.